And now we turn our attention to the Texans, who will hold camp this week at the Greenbrier in West Virginia for practices, as DeMeco Ryans says, out of the Texas heat. But that doesn't mean we are. To help us answer the burning questions from camp, from Locked On Texans, John Hickman and Stan Norfleet, with, of course, Luis Ortiz.
Yeah, man.
How you guys doing?
We're doing good. We are still in the Texas heat. So I can't wait for us to talk Texans.
The better question is, did you bring the heat?
Oh, that's always. Me and that guy get together, we're going to
Always.
do it. But one day closer, gentlemen, to meaningful football. Preseason. It doesn't count, but it matters.
That's right. That's right. You got to love that. And let's get right to it. Our Texans discussion, our Camp Confidential. So let's start out with this. What was the most interesting thing you've heard so far at camp? Stan, why don't you start us off?
Finally, hallelujah. It's Sunday, and somebody said it. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who wants to go by C.D., but there's only one of those in the league. Sorry, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you're going to be C.J. G.J. He says this team has the makeup to be a Super Bowl winner, and he would know, given he has a ring from the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Finally, why is this a secret in the fan base? Nobody wants to talk about it. We don't hear the players talk about it. The head coach doesn't address it. They should be approaching every single day, and the fan base should expect that this should be Super Bowl energy.
It may be a secret, or some people may not want to talk about it. It could be taboo because C.J. Gardner-Johnson is saying that from a defensive perspective. Well, all of the question marks are on the offensive side of the ball.
I like that because, honestly, when you hear that, I think that you should look at yourself that way. I think maybe the makeup of the team, on paper, you could be like, okay, this could be a Super Bowl contending team.
Right.
But as far as what the offense has done so far and shown, I don't think that they can win a Super Bowl like that.
I think, man,
This is
I'm
not the
sorry, Zach.
2000s.
He's seen a lot of football, CJ GJ. So I don't think, he's played under Dan Quinn, in Detroit. He's been in New Orleans with Sean Payton and Philly with Sirianni. I don't think he would be hyperbolic at just saying that. I think he got a little carried away because he tried to dial it back just a bit. But there's something to a formula where the defense might have to carry the offense, and Frank Ross's special team unit might have to do what they have to do as well.
They very well might, but maybe the fan base, maybe their teammates are thinking, well, we haven't done anything yet, right, John? Isn't that brings us to our next most interesting thing said.
So before I get to that, one thing that I found out that was interesting, Jalen Noel is a good barber. So that's a little tidbit to throw out there.
Okay.
But my interesting thing and takeaway was Ariante Ursary, the rookie right tackle.
Here we go with this.
Right tackle. Just mentioning that, he's done a good job in camp, and he's had some very good reps against Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter, but essentially he hasn't done anything yet. And I like that because you look at the mindset that DeMeco Ryans has asked for from his offensive linemen, guys that are going to come in and work and put in their effort and be a little bit more tougher and grittier. That's the personality that the babyface, I'm going to call him the babyface assassin, Ariante Ursary has. He's a hard worker. And again, he has some great reps against some very good top 100 edge players. But he still feels like there's a lot of work to do, and he's absolutely right.
Well, he's certainly got some grown man size. And for me, the most interesting thing I've heard is DeMeco Ryans saying he's focused on watching individuals get better at their craft. And he didn't say this, but, as opposed to the team aspect of it, which is interesting because at training camp here, we're talking about this new offense being installed. We're talking about all the ways that you want to see guys get on the same page. And here's DeMeco talking about watching individuals get better at their craft. So I thought that was interesting from Saturday.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And initially I was going to say the most interesting thing that I heard was him saying this is a Super Bowl team, right? But also I really like what he said, that he's not defending any championship. He's like, I'm hunting again. I'm chasing the ring again, So he's like, I'm not with the Philadelphia Eagles anymore. Right. I am now a Houston Texan. It's time to go hunting. So that mentality, that's the type of mentality you want from this team.
Can I build off of that?
Go for it.
While we're talking about C.J. Gardner-Johnson, when we talk about a leader, that is exactly who the Houston Texans got in a former Super Bowl, former Super Bowl champion. On the sidelines, this was Friday. They were going through 7-on-7 drills, and you hear him on the sideline vocally, loudly saying, "Scoop, scoop, they're coming your way." He was talking about Jamal Hill. They came to his way. Scoop, Jamal Hill was able to make a play. And so you just see how much of a leader he is.
Yeah.
He wasn't on the field, off the field, getting his guys ready. and we got preseason coming up, and so I know he wants those guys to be ready on the field.
I love the way C.J. Gardner-Johnson is all over and embracing the role of that defense being so dominant. Belt to $$, $ was the quote that popped up in the meeting. He was letting C.J. Stroud and that offense know, we are not letting up. We're not going to feel sorry for you. You're going to have to elevate your play on that side of the ball. Hey, offense, I know there's a lot of new over there. C.J. G.J. is just getting here too. He's making no excuses. He went on, guys, to say, I might have 20 tackles for a loss. The way D'Amico and Matt Burke are dialing up this defense. It's exciting if you look at it from that perspective.
And C.J. Gardner-Johnson, certainly one of those players we're really excited to watch this season with the Texans uniform on. Speaking of that, which player or position group has stood out to you guys so far at camp?
Oof. I think.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm going to jump out on this one. I think defense, Caleb Bullock.
Caleb Bullock.
Yeah, Bullock. I mean, he's out there tearing it up. He's having a great training camp.
Excellent camp.
This secondary is scary. I think it might be one of the best secondaries in the entire league. Teams are going to have a very hard time passing. So it looks like the defense is going to force people to run the ball against the Texans because these guys are picking C.J. Stroud multiple, and not just him, but even Davis Mills multiple times.
I want to stick with the secondary, but I want to highlight a specific player. Jalen Smith, the rookie out of USC.
Had him a good last couple
was
days.
drafted. I watched tape on this young man, and I was trying to figure out what role will D'Amico Ryans and Matt Burke have for him on this defense. A lot of the tape that I saw, I figured he was going to be more so of an inside cornerback. But throughout training camp, you have seen him lined up outside, not scared, taking on those battles and winning some of those battles. And so I love everything that I'm seeing from that young man, especially because Tremont Smith has had a good camp. D'Angelo Ross has had a good camp. Houston signed Damon Arnett, Arthur Millette. Don't know what the future looks like for those guys, but I can see him being the cornerback 3 on the outside for the Houston Texans. And for me, that was a huge question mark coming into the season.
I went to practice on Tuesday, and those were both great, by the way. I had Jalen Smith in my deal as well as Caleb Bullock. But let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Not a lot of praise over there with Joe Mixon being sidelined.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the tight end room from top to bottom.
Right.
I went to practice on Tuesday, and I saw a lot of formations. You saw Dalton Schultz flex. You saw Brevin Jordan moving around with that repaired ACL without a knee brace. The fluidity is back. You can tell he has his strength back. I expect Case Stover quietly has probably, other than Caleb Bullock, been the superstar, the MVP of the camp thus far. Really excited about what Nick Caley, a tight end position coach in a previous life, what he can do for this Texans tight end group and how they're being used. Formations, putting them in advantageous positions. It's exciting.
And I really like that tight end room because they've got so many complementing styles, right? Between Dalton Schultz, Cade Stover. You've obviously got a guy with burst in Brevin Jordan. And it seems like that's a group that they're going to rely on a lot more with Nick Caley's offense. Now, speaking of the offense and defense, should we be worried about this prevailing storyline that the defense appears to be so far ahead of the offense?
Man.
Who wants to take a stab first?
Yes, we should be worried. You know why? This was the same storyline in 2024. And we came out of 2024. Our thought process for a lot of us was, they'll get it right. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Did they get it right?
No, they didn't.
Did they figure it out?
No, they didn't.
And so I will be fair to say they are learning a lot of new things. And I think their trip in Greenbrier, West Virginia, which is where the team is now, that I'm going to be optimistic and say that when they come back from that, the offense will have a little bit more chemistry and cohesiveness. But right now, it is very concerning.
I would say not very concerning, but I will give them up until after the Greenbrier, first preseason game. Once we get past that mark and we're halfway through training camp, then it's like, okay, offense really has to start showing something. And I think C.J. Stroud kind of alluded to it already Saturday, saying at some point we can't continue to say it's just the defense is so good. You know, the offense has to be better. And that's one of the questions that D'Amico has been asked about that I asked him. It's like, how do you gauge your offense, whether is it just the defense is so good, or is the offense the way it looks, it's because they're really who they are, you know? So at some point, look, you're not always going to face defenses that are this talented, right? But it's tough, man. I mean, the offense has to start showing something.
Well, where there's smoke, there's fire, they say, right, Stan?
Yeah, listen, I'm not ready to sound the alarm just yet, but what I will say is it a concern? Yes. But, like, the answer to this question is going to be relative to how optimistic or pessimistic or realistic you want to be, right? The through and through fan is going to say, we'll be all right, don't worry about it. Folks like myself and like you three gentlemen that look at the data and, we have some experience covering the team, add up the pieces. Quarterback staring at some real money, new O-line coach, new coordinator, 2 of your top 4 receivers are brand new. Super Bowl expectations, like, you've won the division now. You're not sneaking up on anybody anymore. Like, you add it all up, completely new offensive line, given that Titus is going to play a different position. So I'm not concerned given that I expect the defense. John and I talked about on our show. Yep. This team, the defense and everything that C.J. Gardner-Johnson is saying is accurate. Make those guys, don't feel sorry for them, make them elevate their play, and we'll learn what's inside of the chest of the guys on the offense led by C.J. Stroud, because his job and the way I think they've designed this thing, they're going to ask C.J. to match the holes and elevate the overall operation. And it's something, again, that I'm very intrigued about.
And we are only, 9 practices in so far, so you have to figure it's going to take these guys some time to get on the same page. Having said that, does any player or position group concern you so far this early in camp?
John knows what I'm going to say, y'all.
The man in the maroon.
Go for it. Go.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. So
say it with your chest.
Wait a minute. Okay, listen. You're going to remove out of the building a top 7 offensive tackle in the league. You're going to bring in, not 1, not 2, 3 guys. Ed Ingram, Cam Robinson, and Laken Tomlinson all were rated, according to some of the services like PFF, among the worst at their position group. You're going to ask Titus. My idea, I think it's a good idea. You're going to ask Titus to go to right guard, position he's never played before professionally. And then you're going to go get an All-American left tackle in the second round as a rookie, and I'm going to put him at right tackle, even though he spent his entire life playing left. And we think that's going to look good going up against that defense. I am concerned because I understand the thought process, right? 5 fingers in a glove, you get everybody playing together, and I come back to you guys and say it this way. If they were awful last year and they're good this year, when you were awful and now you're good, it doesn't make you good. It makes you average at best. I have some concerns about the way this offensive line is constructed. So that's where I start.
Yeah, right now I am concerned about the running back group. No Joe Mixon out there. Nick Chubb, he's getting first team reps. Not sure how much he can carry the load. The bright spot, some of the younger guys, Jawar Jordan and Woody Marks. Mm-hmm. But for the 2 vets that one is not out there, no Dameon Pierce. This team has emphasized how much they want to run the ball. Yes. How much can they actually lean on that with a questionable interior offensive line right now.
And Joe Mixon, we don't have a timetable yet on his return, which is also kind of leading more maybe to that concern with the running back group. We don't know if Nick Chubb can carry that kind of load, as you said.
Sure. You don't know what you're going to get from Woody Marks, a rookie. All the coaches that I've studied under, Luis, and we've been covering this thing for a while, you don't know how rookies are going to respond in December and January, late in the year, where they're playing more games than they've ever played before. And it gets cold, the attrition of a season. So I like Woody. I think he's going to make the team. I have him on my 53. But I can't be counting on Woody Marks to get us victories at Kansas City, at Buffalo in the playoffs and so on.
Well, for me, it's 2 things. One, I think it all starts with the offensive line. So I agree with you there because they're the ones that are going to protect CJ, give him the time to get rid of the ball, and establish the run game, right? However, I'm not concerned, but I am curious about some of these practices, C.J. Stroud not throwing normally over the shoulder and underthrowing. And remember, in OTAs, he didn't throw, and they said he's just on a program. Like, what's really going on? I'm just kind of curious. Like, in the back of my head, I have like a little thorn there, right? Like, just a little doubt, like why? There hasn't been a very clear answer as far as why he wasn't throwing in OTAs. And then now, every now and then, it's like you're resting him. Like, it just raises a little bit of doubt.
Real quick for me, the rep distribution. One of the things that I keep seeing in reports, and when I saw from my own eyes at practice on Tuesday this week, you got CJ getting 4 reps, and then Davis Mills comes behind him and gets 4 reps, and then Keaton Slovis and other guys, Graham Mertz, all these guys, like they're in the same neighborhood of reps as CJ. Right. That's alarming to me. New offense being installed, CJ should be getting the lion's share, unless there's some things going on that we don't know about.
I want to add in Christian Harris.
It's on my list.
We don't know anything, kind of like what's been going on with Joe Mixon and C.J. Stroud. But for Christian Harris, he was talked about to be this athletic, X-factor type of linebacker, and we've seen him be that, but that was essentially 2 seasons ago. Played a little bit last year, but essentially missed the entire year outside of a couple of games. What's going on with that, and can we expect Christian Harris for the future or not? Houston did sign E.J. Speed in the offseason.
That's the one. E.J. Speed, I think, is going to end up starting for this team. I really like coming over from the Colts. He's seen this Texans team his entire career, the fluidity in his hips, the agility. He's a dog now. He's going to go hunt. And there's no way a guy that has that much experience is signed here for a backup role. E.J. Speed knows, and maybe it is the Christian Harris dynamic being uncertain. Maybe toe doesn't make the next step in year 3 that we all saw him make in year 2. So maybe Caserio and D'Amico understanding how critical the linebacker spot can be. Think about Kansas City, the playoff game a year ago when Travis Kelce is absolutely destroying the team in the middle of the field. Some 7 catches, I think 110 yards in a tud. Maybe D'Amico and Caserio going, no, we're going to elevate that position quietly. E.J. Speed has been a consummate professional. It would not surprise me if he finds his way into the starting lineup the bulk of this season.
All right, we're going to have to put a pin in it right there because we've got a lot more still to talk about. You guys not going anywhere. We'll have more with John and Stan of Locked On Texans coming right up. And we are back with more Texans. Hard to believe. The first preseason game, less than a week away. We're almost there. We're almost there. So, has anything surprised you thus far in camp? Any surprises?
Great question. Very great question. I think I'm most surprised by the amount of reps rookie Ariante right tackle has won against Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. I am very impressed and pleased by this young man's efforts. I think he will be a staple cornerstone at offensive line for the Houston Texans moving forward. Stan, I don't know if he's going to be a future right or left tackle.
Then what are we doing?
But I do know for right now,
then what are we doing?
He is this team's best option for right tackle to finish the final 5 pursuit of who's the best offensive lineman to put out there. But I've been impressed by that young man.
And I can respect that. Ursary has come on, because let's remember, the incumbent at that position at right tackle was Blake Fisher. You talk about somebody that, not even getting any reps with the ones right now.
Getting yanked.
He got pulled out of a drill for being offsides, and we know the false starts, I should say. You know how that has plagued this team from a year ago. So look, the best right tackle on the team is Titus Howard. And D'Amico has said he is not, and I'm paraphrasing, he said last week, whether it's Fisher, whether it's Ursary, or whether it's Titus, he's got to get that right side solidified. So Ursary has been practicing there and has been performing admirably. He's got a lot to go, a lot to learn, given that he is a rookie. But I'm not going to say that I'm surprised that they put him in right. I'm not surprised that he's out there. I think he should be platooning with Cam Robinson at left tackle, because I believe next year when Cam Robinson is off this roster, all likelihood, Ariante Ursary is going to be the franchise left. Staying with the offense, can I just throw this out real quick? Shout out to the backup QBs. Davis Mills, Slovis, Mertz. I see y'all, the backups, especially Davis Mills, and I'm going to be serious here. We all hope nothing going on. But if you look at the nature of the football league, backups play a lot.
Davis is playing well.
Davis has looked the best that I think I've seen him since I've been here.
He has looked good in camp. I've seen a lot of completions from Davis Mills in camp thus far.
For me, I'm not sure that I'm really surprised or taken aback in a major way from anything so far, because if you think about it, I think defensively what the defense has done, well, they were a very good defense last year, right? So I think they're on par, if not improving. The secondary, I think, is getting better. So, but it's like, okay, well, you expected, right? They should be getting better. And then the offense, with the offensive line, they were terrible last year. And right now, a lot of things being figured out, a lot of moving pieces, and you expect with a whole new, offensive line, new offensive coordinator, new offensive line coach. So can we really be surprised about it? I'm not sure. I think they're kind of where we might have expected them to be.
I want to add to that. We've talked about rookie Jalen Smith. We've talked about rookie right tackle Ariante Ursary. But what about the Iowa State receivers? Jaden Higgins hadn't made a lot of noise to this point.
Noah has had a very good training
Jalen
camp.
Noah has had some very good down-the-field plays. And of the two receivers, he seems to be the one that has more chemistry right now with the quarterbacks. Making plays down the field, making plays on the inside, getting wide open on some of those routes. He looks to be and I hate to put this on a player, but a Christian Kirk 2.0 with a ceiling. His wide receiver coach, who is now the offensive coordinator at Iowa State, kind of compared him to Steve Smith Jr. So I'm not going to put that on him, but he has been impressive and a surprise impressive through camp to this point.
I think it's been surprising how ready all these rookies seem to be. I mean, the entire rookie class, from the top tier of the Texans picks has been surprisingly really good so far in terms of against NFL caliber guys. They've performed pretty well. So for me, it's really that entire rookie class. And Jaden Higgins, you're right. He hasn't done too much so far through camp, but I think you just see the size. I mean, it's very evident that he's got the physical to be there. I think it's a matter of time before we see more from him.
He did have an amazing route. They were doing red zone drills early in the week.
Okay,
where he got wide open in the back of the end zone, and you saw his athleticism, his size pay off. You saw the skill set kind of pay off into fruition. So that's where I think when you look at a team that was one of the worst red zone offenses in the NFL, having another big body who, in my opinion, is more of a red zone target than Nico Collins, that is where I think we'll see him pay off dividends.
When they go out there with the ones, Higgins goes. Noel does not.
Yeah.
That's
as
right.
of now.
That's right.
So I just
That's
want to
right.
make
That
sure
is true.
that we educate and pontificate that for the people.
That's right.
The second thing is, and a former special teamer myself, I pay a lot of attention to that third phase of the game. I'm pleasantly surprised that Braxton Berrios, who comes over from Miami with the fame of the girlfriend and all of that, maybe fiance now, I'm not sure where they are with that. Nonetheless, I'm not into the pop culture. I just watch ball. Braxton Berrios also returning from that ACL.
Love Island fan here.
I have not seen one single episode. I hear good things. Braxton Berrios, just like Brevin Jordan, returning from the ACL, no knee brace. Braxton Berrios likely to make this team at this point as the 6th or 7th receiver, given his ability to return. They also put Noel back there. Yeah. One of those two guys is going to have those responsibilities. That may end up being his more consistent contribution. Talking about Jaden.
I agree with that.
And he also had a return for a punt return for a touchdown in camp this week. So that'll be good for a team that kind of shuffled through who was going to return last year. I think he should be the consistent return man for Houston.
Right. All right. Well, 4 practices in West Virginia coming up. What do you hope the Texans achieve in their trip to the Greenbrier?
Identity.
Yes.
We're getting to that point now where, if you're being honest with yourself, the defense is going to have to carry the mantle for this club this year. Some of that is by design. If you go look at how the early Patriots played, they wanted to run the ball. They wanted to shrink the game, control the clock, take possessions away from the other team, be sound in the kicking game, and then you build a lead. Tom Brady, his biggest superpower was not turning the ball over, like his pre-snap recognition, being cerebral with the football. So I think at the end of the day, Tom Brady and Belichick would hand the ball over or hand the game over to that defense. And that's when you saw Willie McGinnis and Vrabel and Seymour and all Ty Law. You saw Asante Samuel Jr. or Sims. I think you start adding those guys in there. My concern, you got to go back to 2013. Pete Carroll's Legion of Boom, for a defensive-led team, not coached by Belichick and Brady, that won the Super Bowl. This is a modern NFL that is about scoring points offensively, so I do have some questions. However, D'Amico and Caserio have given us nothing overall, based on where the program was, to question where they are. But my football acumen tells me I have to observe the overall data in the picture, and I have some concerns.
It's chemistry for me. I hope it's chemistry, that they achieve out of this trip to the Greenbrier. I think when you play sports, you know that when you get away with your team and it's just you guys together, you develop a greater bond, right? A greater bond, don't you think?
You know, you're playing cards, you're learning about each other's family.
Right.
A lot of guys, contractual situations, and what does that mean? Like, there's an NFL culture, and an NFL locker room is one of the most unique entities in all of pro sports. And so there are some things away from the fans, right? We know the fans have been out here for the last week and a half or so. You can develop some things that permeates in actual ball games. When it gets nip and tuck and you got to look another man in his eyes and you have to know, trust, and believe that he's going to get his job done in front of 75,000 people on national TV, it helps.
Identity, chemistry, that's it. I mean, looking at this team right now with the question marks, where they lie, it's all on what CJ and Nick Caley, that relationship looks like, and how can they get a bond to be a better offense compared to last year. So I 100% agree. I don't want to piggyback too much off of that, though you guys are absolutely correct. When they come back, who's going to be the starting center for the Houston Texans? Will it be Jake Andrews? Will it be Jared Patterson? So far, majority of the ones have been ran out there with Jake Andrews playing center.
I just don't understand that. I'm sorry, Zach. I'm on a pitch count. I'm sorry. Louis,
it's all right.
No, listen, but DeMeco Ryans touched on it recently, talking about they're starting to slowly figure out. He said some of the guys have started to separate themselves once the pads came on. So it looks like that offensive line is starting to shape up. There's still some uncertainty there, right? But it looks like it's starting to take its form. For me, I would say, we talked about this off camera, but leadership. And we were talking about C.J. Stroud maybe not being the type of vocal guy that we would like to see, right? Maybe a little bit louder, more demanding, maybe it's a right word to say.
He's earned the right. Like, CJ knows he's not going anywhere. There's no Laramie Tunsil. Joe Mixon's not practicing. So in terms of the guys that were, Stephon Diggs doesn't play here anymore. And I'm just talking about guys that have the skins on the wall to be able to say, look at what, yes, Titus has been here, and Nico's not going to say much. That's not, at least in front of us. Right. Nico's not going to say that. That's not his dynamic. CJ needs to take the proverbial bull by the horns, be more vocal, demonstrative. Wow, we saw Jaden Daniels this week in Washington kick a player out of practice or out of the huddle, given that he had false starts.
Who do you think that was? You think that was Laramie?
No, I hadn't seen. I'm not sure.
Just based off history.
Just based off history.
Can we stop
this
one more, Zach? I'm sorry. Jake Andrews, who I respect. He's an NFL player. He was a draft pick, 4th round, 2023. Same year as Jared Patterson and Juice Scruggs, a guy talking about falling out of favor.
Man.
Yeah.
How is a man coming from a different program who has one start in 2 years getting more first-team reps than Jared Patterson, who played at Notre Dame, that has been the pivot man in front of C.J. Stroud the last 2 years? 18 starts versus 1. Make it make sense.
Well, I think that when you look at what the two guys bring, I feel like what they're looking for from the center position is who's going to be more supportive in the run game. Based off of my 4 eyes, I feel like it's been Jake Andrews. They want to run the ball.
We'll see. To me, it looks like it's more of a passing offense with the weapons that you have, especially if your starting running back's not even in training camp right now. So
we're going to have to see about that. But speaking of what you want to see, right, coming up in this first preseason game, one thing each of you wants to see from the Texans in this first preseason game.
Offensive efficiency.
Okay.
Fluidity. I want to see the offense move with some sort of chemistry.
Depth.
Like it.
I want to see the Reed kid, the 6th round pick, the safety out of Penn State. He had an interception, I think, on Saturday, had to leave the field for a little bit, a little nicked up. Woody Marks, not just some of those rookies, E.J. Speed, Luke Lachey, draft selection out of Iowa in the 7th round at tight end. I'm thinking about, you talked about Arthur Mollett and Damon Arnett. Like, where's the depth of this team? Any NFL general manager or head coach that's been around are going to tell you, your team is not necessarily the starting 22. Nope. The bulk of your team is really like 20 to 40 of your 53. I want to see those guys develop. That defensive line rotation. Darrell Taylor, who comes over from Chicago, has been an absolute tear, a linebacker / defensive end hybrid. I want to start to see this depth materialize.
Well, you stole mine. So I'm going to think on the fly here, and I'm going to say 2 guys that were with the team the last couple of seasons and now don't know where they where their favor may lie with the Texans.
Yeah.
Xavier Hutchinson and John
Yep.
Mechie.
Yep.
Xavier Hutchinson has had a couple of good days at camp. John Mechie has come along. He has had some drops.
Man, they got him doing everything.
They got him doing everything.
Dude, he's even defending. He's even playing like quarterback out there.
So he has the opportunities. I think that we should see a lot of those two guys simply because Braxton Berrios, as you mentioned, he's been good for the Houston Texans, and he's also made some catches out there as well. So what do they look like moving forward? I think preseason game 1 would be a very good opening test for Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie.
Can I also add real quickly, just for conversation real quick? Heard Nick Caley speak. He addressed you guys in the media today that were on site there at the Houston Methodist Training Center. Nick Caley has never called plays in an actual NFL game. What does that tempo look like? The execution. Is the play going to come in to the quarterback with the green dot? What is the actual game day? And that's something that the fans don't see. How smooth is that operation, and how does DeMeco manage that? DeMeco has been spending way more time on the offensive side of the field this camp than he has on the defense.
Yep. And as we go into this first preseason game, or we go into this week, I should say, at the Greenbrier in West Virginia, before that preseason game, do we feel the Texans are on track thus far in training camp?
On track to do what?
Well, that's the question. What does it mean to you?
Let's qualify it. Are they on track to win a bad division? Yes. Are they on track to have one of the best defenses in the league? Yes. Are they on track to give a franchise quarterback an opportunity to be, for most people, a 10, 9, 8-ish ranked quarterback in the league? Yep. Are they on track to win a Super Bowl? Not with that offensive line performing like that, no.
No,
John?
They're not on track for a Super Bowl, to be a Super Bowl winning team. I think defensively they're going to be great. They were great last year, but then they found themselves in second halves of a lot of those games where the offense couldn't put up points. So they gave up more yards, and they were able to, unfortunately gave up more points. I am not ready to say I have faith and trust into the offense right now. I think that's fair. We may be fans of the team because we cover them. We want to see them do well. We want to see them represent the city of Houston, no doubt about it. But we have to be realist, and the reality is there's been some bumps in the road in terms of where CJ is with the offense right now, where Nick Caley is with the offense right now, and how they've been able to come together to be a productive offense or lack thereof. That's very concerning right now.
I think there are more questions to be answered, certainly from this offensive line, specifically if this team is going to take that next step. And I think for fans, that's certainly what it would mean to be on track, right?
Yeah, well, look, it's a cliche, right? But they always say it's 1 week at a time. Every week it's 1-0, go 1-0, go 1-0. So let's take it that way. It's training camp, right? It's barely heading into the first preseason game. A lot of new things going on, specifically in the offense, right? So I think right now they are on track considering that, but it's getting close to where they start falling behind. It's like we said it earlier, after this week, we need to start seeing what DeMeco has said, guys separating themselves, and the whole unit as a whole start to separate, to kind of take shape, where we start seeing progress, improvement. Because if not, once the preseason games are here, I mean, there's only a few practices left, and then the week 1 is here right around the corner by that time. So you have to start seeing that progress now. If not, you start to fall behind. So I think right now, look, what you said is right. Are they on track to be one of the best defenses? I think so. From what they've shown so far, this is going to be a very good defense. Are they on track to win the division? Sure. Maybe win for the Super Bowl? No, but that's way down the road. A lot of things can happen. A lot's going to change. So for now, I think they're on track, but on the verge of maybe falling behind.
And to be fair, it is way too early in the process to kind of judge if they're on track to do anything.
Is it?
I think so because of the newness. If this was a team that came in with another year with Bobby Slowick under their belt, didn't have to learn the new offense, I think that maybe we could judge them a little bit differently. But because in the offseason they opted to go with moving on from Larry Tunsil, moving on from Bobby Slowick, to be fair, they only had 10 days of practice. Some of those practices were not padded.
No, right.
We should have a more fair assessment once we get past Saturday's preseason game.
Listen, man, the game of football is not that complicated. We're all running the same thing, and you call it different things. There are some styles and some variations, but at the end of the day, Christian Kirk's a vet. At the end of the day, Cam Robinson's a vet. So is Laken Tomlinson. So when you start going around, Chubb is a vet. I know he's coming back from injuries and all that. So there's a level of newness, I get it, but at the end of the day, the drills they're doing in individual for Chubb to warm up are the same individual drills they were doing in Cleveland. The young guys, Ursery and the 2 wide receivers, everybody else has seen enough football that it should look better. The second thing I'm going to add
a fair
is,
point.
right, like we just got to call it what it is. So you're a vet in this league. It's your job to implement a culture. One word that I want to use here is urgency. Sense of urgency. I'm not feeling a Super Bowl sense of urgency given, and we talk about continuity. Who are they chasing? Kansas City? They've been together for a little while. Baltimore? They've been together for a while. Buffalo? They've been together for a little while. Burrow and Higgins and Jamar Chase in Cincinnati, they've been together for a while. The Texans don't have the luxury of having the mindset that it's going to take time. You got to go now because you're chasing the ghosts. And the ghosts are the 4 teams. I think, 3 of those 4 you got to see this year.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our Texans Camp Confidential this week as Houston heads on the road for practices again at the Greenbrier in West Virginia, followed by their first preseason game in Minnesota against the Vikings. We love chopping it up with these guys. Thanks to our friends John Hickman and Stan Norfleet from Locked On Texans. Thanks for being here, guys.
Appreciate it. Always good hanging out with you guys. Thank you, man. My man.